All right, class. This segment of videos will focus on World War One, and this one in particular, we'll look at how World War One began and look at the United States' response to the outbreak of war in Europe in the summer of 1914. And so, on June 28th of 1914, the Archduke of Austria-Hungary, Franz Ferdinand, he is going to be assassinated by Gavrilo Princip. Gavrilo Princip is a Serbian nationalist, part of this terrorist group known as the Black Hand, and they are adamantly against the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. They feel like Sarajevo, the city where Franz Ferdinand is going to be assassinated, should be brought back under Serbian control. And so when the Archduke is assassinated in June, this is going to start off what will become known as the July Crisis. The July Crisis is the time period that's going to cause World War I to begin, and it's going to cause World War I to begin not just between Austria-Hungary and Serbia, but the events that unfold in July and early August of 1914, they're going to bring all the major countries of Europe into war with each other. To kind of backtrack, remember the main causes for World War I: militarism. There's been a growing, there's been a growing emphasis and I guess you could say priority for building strong and large militaries. This is especially relevant when we look at the naval arms race that's been happening between Germany and England since the late 19th century, and due to Kaiser Wilhelm II's idea that Germany deserves a place in the sun. Germany and Great Britain had engaged in a naval arms race. Alliances, this is going to touch off this event in June is going to touch off this increasingly complex set of alliances where people chose sides due to cultural ties, ethnicity. This is the case of like Serbia and Russia, or due to political alliances that were signed in the years prior. We're going to see two sets of alliances here. The Central Powers, this will be Germany and Austria-Hungary. Turkey's going to get involved. Or the Ottoman Empire, I should say. Bulgaria will get involved on the side of the Central Powers. You really need to focus just on Germany and Austria-Hungary. There is a great book out there that talks about the Ottoman Empire at the beginnings of the 20th century, and then what happens to the Ottoman Empire afterwards. And it's called A Peace to End All Peace. The Triple Entente, which will later be known as the Allied Powers. This will be Russia, France, and Great Britain. Italy in 1915, even though they had been originally allied with the Central Powers, they will switch sides. They were actually neutral in the first year of the war, but they will switch sides and formally join the Allied Powers. And the United States in 1917 would join the Allied Powers. So in July of 1914, going back to what happens after the Archduke is assassinated, Austria-Hungary starts to lay out some ultimatums towards Serbia as far as what they have to do and what they have to agree to avoid war. This will encourage Russia to start to mobilize their troops in defense of Serbia, and also in response to that, Germany will become increasingly more cautious as far as what is Russia doing. What does this mean for the Germany-Austria-Hungary alliance? What does this mean between relations what does this mean of the relationship between Germany and Russia? And we will see in July, you will see that Germany will issue Austria-Hungary essentially a blank check. Whatever supplies supplies that they need to fight their war against Serbia. Germany is there for their ally. You can also look up the Willie Nicky telegrams, and this is a series of telegrams between Kaiser Wilhelm and his cousin Tsar Nicholas II in July of 1914, and it's really interesting to read these telegrams because at the very beginning the language and the tone and the mood of these telegrams are very cordial. Neither side wanted war, but you could see as we go into the later weeks and days of July, the language becomes much more aggressive. They start to point fingers, and eventually, on August 1st of 1914, Germany will declare war on Russia. August 3rd, France will declare war on Germany. Being part of that being allies with Russia. And then Germany, when they start to unfold what's called the Schlieffen Plan, this is a plan to avoid the problem of a two-front war. Since Russia is going to take so long to mobilize, they will focus on the Western Front first, defeat them quickly, and then take care of Russia second. This Schlieffen Plan will involve them marching through neutral Belgium to get to the northeast part of France. The marching through neutral Belgium and violating the Belgian neutrality, this will bring in England. And so August 4th, England enters the war, and Sir Edward Grey of Great Britain says that and I quote, "The lights are going out all over Europe. I don't know when they will be on again." Or I think maybe I should just say I'm paraphrasing, and I doubt they will be on again in our lifetime. Something to that effect. Barbara Tuchman, great historian, writes a book called The Guns of August. If you're ever interested in learning more about World War I would definitely recommend that. That is in the David Beller library. You can find that book at 80105. We do and we will talk a little bit about the characteristics of World War I. What does it mean to be involved in a total war? This is also known as an industrial war and a war of extermination. What does that mean? And we will also look at the United States. And just briefly, during the summer of 1914, the problems that Woodrow Wilson was facing in Latin America and in the Caribbean, and as well as the family tragedy, is going to loom larger in President Wilson's thinking than this chaos that's breaking out over in Europe. During the first year of Wilson's presidency, his wife contracted a kidney disease, and she died on August 6th, 1914. President Wilson was devastated. He said, "Oh my God, what am I to do?" Well, apparently, he found out what to do because 6 months later, he meets a Washington widow, Bowling Galt, and in December of 1915, they're married. So he was devastated, but it seems like he got over that relatively quickly. So Ellen Wilson dies just as World War I is breaking out, and North Carolinian, to describe, I guess to kind of sum up, the typical American's reaction towards the outbreak of war. He saw it as a lightning out of a clear, he saw it as lightning out of a clear sky. And so whatever the troubles in Mexico, whatever the disorders and the interventions in other nations, it seemed unreal that to most Americans that Europe could descend into this period of war, chaos, and an orgy, as one history book calls it, an orgy of mutual destruction. Why even though these long-term causes have been in in place for quite some time, why do people have trouble seeing this happening? Because at the beginning of the 20th century, Europe had been peaceful, it had been relatively prosperous, and no one could imagine the scale of this new type of industrialized warfare. It's going to assume unprecedented, proportions, and involve unprecedented ruthlessness. Between 1914 and 1921, to throw some stats at you, the First World War was directly responsible for the deaths of over 9 million combatants, wounded 15 million. It would produce at least 3 million widows and 6 million orphans. The war's sheer horror and destructiveness, its obscene butchery and ravaged landscape defied belief. And when we look at the 1920s, we'll see this outpouring of art and literature that exemplifies this disillusionment that people have with civilization after going through the experiences of World War One. A third of the men that were born in 1890 in Great Britain are going to be dead. A third of a generation are dead as a result of World War One. And so, in the next unit, when we look at the 1920s, be aware and be able to pick out, be able to explain the psychological impact that World War One has, both on popular culture and the arts. And also, we want to look at or remember these statistics and the mental and psychological toll that World War I took when we're looking at foreign policy, both of the United States and foreign policy of the other European nations as we go down the road to World War II. In the next video, we will look at part C of number 2. We will look at the characteristics of World War I and what the United States can expect when they get involved in the fighting. We will also tackle the question of what will the United States do, will they get involved, will they not get involved, what's going to lead them or cause them to get involved. And we'll look at war by act of Germany, and we'll look at the steps leading up to the United States declaring war on April 6, 1917.